Hi everyone, welcome to Reflections from Within, the mind of a juvenile offender. My name is James Wiley and I'm here with my friend Andrew Dodge. Let's take a moment to center ourselves for the very important conversation we will be having today by taking a deep breath and exhaling. Please join me now by taking in a breath and audibly exhaling. All right. Today, we're going to be talking about the Winder, Georgia school shooting. I don't know how to get America's attention, but America, wake up! This kid showed all the signs of needing help before his desperate acts of violence. So many victims, so many lives shattered, and for what? This did not need to happen. Speaking of lives lost, I want to take a moment to acknowledge and honor those who needlessly lost their lives. 14-year-old student Christian Angelo, 14-year-old student Mason Schermerhorn, 39-year-old math teacher Richard Aspinwall, and 53-year-old math teacher Christina Irami. There were also 9 others injured, a teacher and 8 students. Wherever they are, my heart reaches out to them. May they please be blessed with a full recovery, physically and emotionally. Considering emotional trauma, there are so many more invisible victims to this tragedy. I pray that each of those victims find their own peace in coming to terms with what happened. Damn. I feel that if anyone had genuinely paid attention and would have listened to that little boy, this could have been prevented. People might not say that it's not their responsibility. I say, why not? Isn't it known that it takes a village to raise a child? As adults and leaders, we are the stewards guiding our youth while they grow into the adult leaders of tomorrow. If someone would have given more effort in intervening when they saw trouble, this shooting may not have happened. I have a few comments to make, but then I really want your opinion on the issue of desperate children causing harm, because this topic is extremely personal to me. I have spent most of my life studying how children learn, think, and make choices. The thing is, I was one of those desperate children that made the worst mistake. Now, I have a strong opinion. So I'm going to share mine, and then please share yours. There are reports that the child was investigated for making a comment online, saying that he wanted to be involved in a school shooting. Well, this is what I take away from that. The kid was chattering the thoughts in his head. It's super important to pay attention to. I'm glad it was spotted, but it sure could have been handled better. The authorities questioned him, and the dad was pissed. Naturally, the kid made excuses to avoid the wrath of his dad and denied posting it to the authorities to avoid getting into trouble. At that point, I figured the 13-year-old is afraid of punishment, so he isolates his thoughts, but inside a poison remains. That poison festered, but if people had approached the situation differently and helped him process his emotions, then this would have never happened. Absolutely, it had to be addressed. At this point, it seems a waste of time to be talking about this, since the damage has been done. But it presents a teachable moment that may save lives in the future. After the shooting, I heard reports that neighbors witnessed him and his siblings being locked outside in the cold. Say what? If it had been a pet dog, how many neighbors would have called animal control? When you see animals being mistreated, do you call the authorities? Why wouldn't you do it for a child? Why didn't they? Maybe they did. I don't have all the information. But let's say they did. If the authorities were called on behalf of how those children were being treated, then why didn't the authorities do more to protect the children? The news said that the mother called the school warning of an emergency 30 minutes before the shooting. Are you serious? So many questions. There's so many people that I want to address in this discussion right now. The police and the prosecutors, they're charging the child for what he did, rightly so. But they're also charging the father. If we're going to go that far, why not charge the neighbors who witnessed the cruelties that the mother imposed upon that child? Hell, why not charge the kids that were bullying him by pinching him and picking on him? There's obviously a list of people that contributed to this child's destructively acting out. Is blaming people and punishing people the answer? Now, I understand the hunger for accountability, but there also needs to be healing. Vengeance is not the answer. There are already enough victims. I heard recently that the shooter had texted a family member saying sorry before actually opening fire. Another example that child was desperately asking for help, but at that point had unfortunately backed himself into a corner he didn't know how to get out of. I thought our purpose in life is to nourish and enrich our children so that they can be the assertive leaders for our country in the future. Well, how do we do that? I want your ideas. What can be done to prevent school shootings? What do you want others to do to stop school shootings? What can you do? Please tell me. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, I know it's a
Anything
little,
come to mind?
yeah, I know it's a little controversial, but having like volunteer security at schools that are armed, perhaps like, say, retired police officers or retired, or, veterans, combat veterans, people that are sane, that can carry a gun, that aren't going to be a liability, metal detectors, staff that carry. I mean, there's a few schools in the United States where there's staff that actually carry guns, and there's signs outside of the school saying, "Warning: we will," something like, "We will protect our school," or like something like, "We're armed. We have staff that are armed. We're willing to protect the school at any cost." Something like that, basically warning future shooters. Like, if you come in here and mess with our kids, then we're gonna do what it takes to protect everybody.
Yeah, and that's actually it is controversial, but it's common in discussion is basically hardening the soft targets. And that goes beyond schools. That goes into churches and theaters and other places that could potentially be vulnerable. That's because it does seem like usually soft targets are the place that these tragedies happen. Any other ideas come to mind?
Uh, Providing our kids with bulletproof vests in their backpacks. Now, I know that they have some type of special. I don't know if they're backpacks or bags or whatever, but I've seen them online, and they're bulletproof to an extent, I believe, and it's usually aimed, targeted towards like children, like helping children. So I think that's a good idea too, is having some type of bulletproof material in a backpack or a bag or something like that. I mean, I'm sure it would be expensive, but it would be worth it. I mean, anything is worth a child's life, no matter if it's tens of thousands or millions of dollars.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that there's that technology. I mean, it's more likelihood if something traumatic did happen, the child could walk away with an injury and still have their life.
Right, and I think it's a joke when they do active shooter drills at schools, because they're just teaching the shooter where everybody's going to be, how to get there safely, how to get there before they lock the school down and everything. Like, I think it's a joke that they do school shooter drills, because Dave Chappelle did a great skit. I forget what Netflix special it was, but he's like, they're training the shooter along with like the people that would become victims of the school shooter. They're training the shooter on where to go, on what to do, like where to find everybody, and it's. I don't think that's right that they do that.
Yeah, kind of like in our movies, like the biggest villain is usually the ex-CIA member or ex-FBI that knows the playbook, right? So it's like, here, let's teach them the playbook. So,
Right, and I know that they have like I don't know what they're called, but they're these like doors. I've seen them on TikTok and YouTube, where they like, you pull the door shut and it's like bulletproof, and there's like no handles on the doors on either side so they can't get in. They would have to like literally dig their way in. So that's another good idea, but I'm sure that's really expensive too. But I'm sure taxpayers wouldn't have a problem paying for stuff like that when it came to protecting children, you know?
Creating some kind of safe room environment to where they can easily. I hadn't. Yeah, that's very interesting. I remember doors that rotated for like the photo lab and the photography classes, and I guess if those were able to be secured, that could definitely pose some benefit. It would, but there's a lot of other questions that be raised, like blind spots and other things. What about just learning how to spot these troubled youth, learning how to intercept the isolation that a lot of our lost youth are going with, and finding ways to give a different direction to that negative energy? Do you think there's enough programs in place, or do you think we'd have to try this from a whole new approach that may be able to be more effective in the way we raise our kids, and to create to where kids aren't so desperate like they are right now?
I don't know. I guess that's a matter of opinion, but I think that there's a lot of programs that can probably be put into place. Like I said before, like safe rooms. They could start a after hours, club where they could create, I don't know, out of whatever, like they could create a space as to where people could go if they needed a safe space. Just not even during like a shooting, like say somebody's being bullied or whatever, like a safe space to where they can just go and vent or whatever, like a room where nobody else knows where it is unless you're like in dire need of going there. I don't. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing is with our modern technology, our airports have those machines and stuff and scanning, and we have the benefit of AI nowadays to where, just sensors built into the walls to where you kind of almost not even knowing they're there would be able to detect different weaponry or detect the items that could pose hazardous, and maybe that would be a unintrusive method of solidifying, tightening up the soft spots too. I don't know. There's a lot there. I hope to get more feedback from the people that listen to us, and that's something we can continue on in the future. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm sure people have ideas that we haven't thought about that would probably be common sense, or it'd be thinking outside of the box, one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.